So let me know whenever you want to go live. So let me know, and then I'll start, and then I'll pass on to Dan. Okay?
Sure.
All right. I think Mustafa was here, and he was talking to me earlier, and then he acknowledged. So Dan, are you ready?
Yeah, definitely. I switched it up just a little bit, but I got some, like I said, good things to go over the benefits, the foundation, and then show just some little examples for us. Again, how we are able to access that money early, if we access it throughout that life of that policy, and then again a little bit later. And it just like the very last one, like I said, is a little bit heavy on that money, but really shows the difference of that taxes and that drain on that money there for us. So
awesome, perfect. Sounds great. Sounds super great. Okay. So Baba, let me know when we can so when we are good to go, and then we'll start.
Sure. Yeah, in 2 minutes.
Okay.
I also provided the YouTube channel because it is live stream. And
okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So welcome everybody to be part of this like incredible session. To be where we'll be learning about money. So where we'll be learning about how to save money, how to grow money. Everybody out there knows how to make money, but we will teach you today how to save it, how to grow it, how to multiply it, and also how to not pay taxes on it when you grow your money. Taxes on it. Taxes play the bigger role when it comes to like creating wealth. Okay, so before we go into our topic, I just want to help you understand our philosophy. We as a team, we as a team, as well as like-minded individuals, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to take this philosophy of saving first and then spending to each household in the US as well as in Canada and all over North America. And we have this philosophy to go over with you today so that you understand what we do and how we do it. So here I'll share with you my screen as to what we do and how we do it, and then I will pass on to our host today. Okay, guys. So let's take a look. Now, what is the process of wealth creation? What is the process of wealth creation? First is you set aside minimum 10% of your monthly paycheck. Minimum 10% of your monthly paycheck. Let's say you make 5,000 net income, you set aside 10%, which is $500 monthly paycheck. This is the paycheck. This is 10% that something you pay yourself first. Why yourself first? Because you are paying everybody else, and when you are paying everybody else, they are getting wealthy, you are not getting wealthy. Okay, so you set aside 10% of your monthly paycheck that you want to pay yourself, for yourself and your family. Then what you do, once you set aside 10% paycheck, you understand and apply the 3 rules of money, which we will go over today with you. Number 1 rule is called compounding effect. Your money getting compounding. Number 2, the risk effect. Money is not on the risking notes. Okay. Number 3, tax effect. You're not being taxed on the money that you're trying to grow. And number 3 thing that we will accomplish with this will be 3 goals in sequence. You will protect your income, you will have income replacement, and you will have generational wealth. Income protection, when you are young or when you have debt or mortgage on you, you need income protection. And then when you are 65, you are no longer working because you worked most of your lifetime to make money, to save money. But we need an income coming in at age 65. We'll talk about that, how you can have income replacement at age 65. And once after age 65, what do you want to do? You want to pass on what you have accumulated to your family, and that is something called generational wealth. How do you have income protection tax free? How do you have income replacement at age 65 so that you start getting paid and you have tax free retirement income? And then what you have accumulated all those years of you working hard, how can you pass on to the next generation? That is called generational wealth. We'll talk about that. But let's first set aside 10%. How much you make? Set aside 10%. 10%. Why 10%? And why you should set aside 10% net paycheck? Ask yourself, do you pay monthly bills? Do you pay cell phone companies? Do you pay banks, insurance companies, car insurance, car payments, car gas, car maintenance? Do you pay all of them? Of course, yes. Do you pay grocery bills to various stores out there like Walmart, or you get something from Amazon? You pay them. Now let me ask you, when you pay them, are you becoming wealthy or they are becoming wealthy? It's they becoming wealthy. So you are not becoming wealthy when you pay them. All right. If you pay yourself at least 10% with discipline, do you think you will become wealthy? The answer is yes. Pay yourself first because you deserve the most out of your monthly paycheck. You made that money, not somebody else. Number three thing, do you think you and your family deserve to be wealthy? The answer, I believe, is yes. Now, if you're listening to me, pay attention to this question. Do you think you will be wealthy by making money only? Or do you think you will be wealthy by making money plus also getting education on how money works? I think that is the answer is the latter. That we will be wealthy, you will be wealthy by making more money, but also knowing how to grow your money, how to pay no taxes on your money. Okay? So they say hard earned money that you are making from your job or from a career is like a seed in your hands. Now, would you turn that seed into a fruit by storing it? Like you can store in the bank, you want, or you can store under your pillow. Will you have the seed into a fruit by storing it or by sowing it? And I believe it's by sowing it. Okay, by sowing the seed. Similarly, to create future wealth, you need to sow at least 10% of your paycheck today. Remember, for fruit to appear, the seed needs to disappear. For fruit to appear one day, the seeds need to disappear. And what is a seed? 10% of your monthly paycheck going towards something that we will share with you today, where it should go and how it will help you accumulate wealth. Okay, so when you have 10% that you have set aside for from your monthly bill, we will learn about the 3 rules of money. If you don't know the 3 rules of money, you will never be wealthy. Never be wealthy. Pay attention to that. Okay, 3 rules of money. Let's take a look. All right. So number 1 rule. So Albert Einstein said, know the first rule of money, which is called the compound effect. And what he means by that, he said, first rule is compound effect. He said, there's a rule called rule of 72. Now, with this, that means he said you divide the 72 by rate of return, ROR, the rate of return you're getting, and this will give you the years to double your money. Now, if you're getting 4% in your bank when you save money, you divide 72 by 4. That means your money will double every 18 years. Every 18 years. So let's say somebody's 30 and they invest $10,000 today and the rate of return is 4%. That means when they are 48, their money will become 40,000 or the money will become 20,000. 48. This is the power of compound interest. Now you are paying, if you are in the US, you are paying 6, 7, 8% in mortgage to the banks. Are you even getting 5% compound interest, or you're paying compound interest to the banks? The answer is we are paying compound interest to the banks, to the cars, to all those credit cards that you own. You're paying compound interest to others, but are you getting it? But are you earning it yourself? Now look, if your compound interest, the rate of return is 8%, that means money will double every 9 years. Somebody's 30 and they put $10,000. At 39, they will have 20,000. At age 48, they will have 40,000. At age 57, they will have 80,000. At age 66, they will have, at the age of retirement, they will have 160,000. This is the power of compound interest. It's same $10,000, but if you're getting 12% rate of return, you divide the 72 by 12, which is 6 years. Your money will double every 6 years. Now somebody is 30 and they put $10,000. That means at age 36, they will have 20,000. At age 42, they will have 40,000. At age 48, they will have 80,000. Money doubling every 6 years. At age 54, they will have 160,000. At age 60, they will have 320,000. At age 66, they will have 640,000. Just look at the difference if you're paying attention. Somebody getting 8%, at 66, they have 160,000. A same 30-year-old invested $10,000, but their rate of return is 12%. They have $640,000. How much is the difference? How much is the difference? The difference is, I believe, close to $550,000, $550,000 plus is the difference. This is the power of compound interest. He who understands it earns it. He who don't understand it pays it to the banks. That's number one. You need to know this rule. This rule should be in your favor if you want to be wealthy, guys. Pay attention. This is rule number one, compound effect. Rule number two, how money grows. How money grows. Number one is you can have, this is called risk effect. Number one, you can have your money in the bank, which is called fixed, in the bank. You will have safety, but you will never have growth. Your money in the bank will not even beat the inflation out there. Leave the growth aside, will not even beat the inflation. So this is rule number one, that you can have money in the bank. You have no growth. Money is there. You put 10,000, it will stay 10,000, but you will lose money down in long term because inflation will eat your money. Okay, or you can invest your money in variable accounts, just like mutual funds, stocks. Okay, you can put money there and they are linked with the market, or in crypto. When they grow, when market grows, your money grows. When market crashes, your money crashes. When they grow, your money grows. Market crashes, your money also crashes. You will have growth here, but you're risking the safety of your money. It is not safe. It's not guaranteed. But if you grow your money, if you put your money in an index plan, it's indexed. It has a floor. It has a guarantee. It is not coming below a specific number. You're getting both growth and safety on your money. When market goes up, money goes up. But when market goes down, it gives you guarantee. It never goes negative. That is the beauty of it. Warren Buffett said the most important rule when you want to be rich, you want to be wealthy, is never, ever, never lose money. Ask yourself, where is your money? Is it in the variable accounts or is it in the bank? Yeah, inflation is eating your money and you're losing your money in long term. The power of a dollar going down, or your money is in index. We will teach you how you can have index, how you can have rule number 72 in your favor, how you can have index plan in your favor momentarily. Lastly, the third rule of money is you don't want to pay taxes. You don't want to pay taxes. You don't want to pay taxes. When you make money, you pay taxes. When you spend money, you pay taxes. When you save money, you pay taxes. And when somebody dies, their family member pays taxes. You don't want to pay taxes. Now, let's say you want to This rule is called the tax effect. Either you can have tax now, you can put money in checking accounts, savings accounts, CDs, stock, and mutual funds. The moment you get interest here, the IRS issues you 1099 IRT, which is the interest income, and they want you to pay the taxes on it. That's number one. You can go for this. Number two, it's taxed later. Now, what does that mean? It means the contribution is tax-free. The contribution into 401k, 403b, IRA, SCP, annuity, pension plans, TSP, the contribution in them is tax-free, but the distribution is not tax-free. When the money is distributed at age 59 and a half, at 60, the contribution is tax-free. The contribution is smaller amount. Distribution is bigger amount. If you are a smart farmer, you would rather pay tax on the contribution and have the entire distribution for free. But who is teaching you all this? We will teach you today. Okay? 401k, 403 plus if you withdraw money here before age 59 and a half, you pay 10% penalty on it. And lastly, number three is tax-free. The contribution is taxable. Now you are paying taxes on your W-2, and then you paying into this plan, taxes you have already paid, but distribution is all tax-free. Contribution is lower, distribution is way bigger. Distribution is tax-free. And what are tax-free? Roth IRA is tax-free, 529 is tax-free, executive bonus, long-term care benefit. What next speaker will talk about is how you can have long-term care benefit and cash value life insurance policies and have rule of 72 in your favor, rule of index, which is risk effect in your favor, plus the tax effect in your favor. Three rules in your favor. The next speaker will talk about. Pay attention. First goal that we discussed today was you set aside the 10% of your paycheck, monthly paycheck. Number two thing was have the three goals. Rule of 72, the compounding in your favor, risk in your favor, and tax in your favor. If you don't have any, if you only have two in your favor, but tax is not in your favor, you will lose your money. You will lose your wealth. Having all these three in your favor will accumulate wealth for you and your family, and making sure your hard-earned money stays within your hard-earned money and stays with your family. Okay, so the next speaker, this individual, he is so humble. He is very helpful. The selfless giver. Every time I call him, he helps me so much. He has over 15 years of experience into financial services industry. Has been working with Transamerica, a well-known #1 company in the US. Selling IULs and stuff. So he will help us understand the benefits of IUL, how it is designed, how it can help the North American families save money, grow money, and pay no taxes on it. Please, without any further ado, please let me help him. Please let me welcome our friend, our good friend, our host, Dan Corbin from Transamerica. Over to you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhillon, Mr. Dhillon. Appreciate that. Really welcome. Like that warm introduction. And again, just want to really thank you for allowing me to be on this call today and join your team. Really appreciate it. I can't wait to get into what I'm discuss today, because everything that you discussed, those 3 rules of money, we're going to touch right on those. I got very similar, same things. It's going to be great. And I really can't wait to, again, present to you what Transamerica has to offer. As Mr. Dhillon was mentioning here, I have been with Transamerica for over 15 years, had the pleasure of working with World Financial Group myself, and have had, in the last 15 years, really have been able to educate and learn how money works, how the financial system works, and how to really grow your money. And that's where, again, I really have a passion for sharing that information and really helping people, as we'll see here, live their best lives. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead, share my screen here, and we'll jump right into it for today. Again, and this is, we're utilizing a tool here, as we all mentioned, right? Having that protection. We're going to talk about that accumulation strategy as well for us. But first and foremost, right, I always want to get this out of the way. Your hard-earned income is the most important thing that we want to protect, right? We are making as much money as possible. The best thing we can do is protect that income if something were to happen. And that's what permanent life insurance does first and foremost. I don't want to necessarily keep that out of the window, but we also want to talk about the benefits of growing your money and protecting that hard-earned money through the long run, as Mr. Dhillon was mentioning about, when we get to age 65, protecting ourselves against taxes there, again, protecting ourselves against running out of money as well, or protecting us against systemic risk here. And we're going to get into that today here, first and foremost. So as we were discussing, we're all about building wealth, right? We do want to have that accumulation, how we are accumulating wealth. We touched on a couple strategies there, the bank, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, cash value accumulation is one option that I believe is really overlooked. And the reason why is because when we are accumulating our wealth, we are susceptible to systemic risks, I like to say, a market risk necessarily, where if we're storing money into our 401ks, right, we are, as we saw on that chart, susceptible to that market flows up and down. Do we really get that savings protection, that safety that's inside that accumulation strategy? As we learned, right, rule number one from Warren Buffett is don't lose any money. Rule number two is don't forget rule number one. So again, we want to hold on to principles. And one thing we talked about too is compound interest. And I always kind of learned about compound interest is you don't lose money through that principle, right? Your principle's building on to that compound interest. If I have my money in a mutual fund, 401k, I'm, again, susceptible to that principle going up and down. And am I truly earning compound interest if my principal is fluctuating up and down through the years? And that's where, again, accumulation strategy holds on to your principal and builds in that safety for you. So as your money grows, you're holding on to the gains, right? That's another thing too. We can all see gains, but it doesn't really happen until they're realized gains, right? And we put that into our accounts. And that's another thing. We want to hold on to that. And then the other side of that is what we discussed here on the tax side, right? We all know that taxes are going to be with us for the rest of our lives, unfortunately. And whether we're paying taxes now, as we were discussing, right, paying taxes on that seed, the contribution, or are we deferring taxes to a later date? Both strategies are very well endowed, but we want to make sure that we're strategizing, and we're going to get into this called tax diversification, and we're going to talk about moving our money through different accounts so that we can alleviate our tax bill later in retirement. And then lastly, with mutual funds, and I'm sorry, one more thing too, with the mutual funds, 401ks, we're relying, again, on market performance, but also that funds manager's performance as well. How are they doing inside that market? Are they able to keep up with the S&P? And you're going to see how over the years, more or less, a lot of account managers are not able to match or keep up with an indexing fund that mirrors the S&P 500. And then lastly, we talked, Dhillon talked about inflation and the rule of 72 and being able to double your money and how long it takes given the rate of return. We're going to show you again how that we're able to double your money and produce a little bit more income for you later in your retirement years. So this chart is kind of one of my favorites here because it kind of shows two different stories here. And the first one is what I call the silent partner along the way. And that is our blue line here. And as you can see, our purple line obviously outperforms the blue. Reason being it's tax deferred, right? I'm not paying taxes every year that I earn that gains. As we saw, if I'm in a taxable account, I'm going to receive that 1099 at the end of the year for the interest that I've earned. So any gains or percentage that I've now earned throughout that year, guess what? I'm sharing them with Uncle Sam that year, and he's getting a portion of it, and he didn't do any work at all. You did a lot of the hard work and gave that money to that account. He just went along for the ride and reaped some benefits, right? That's where, again, we want to be able to alleviate some of that tax bill, and we're going to show you how to do that here. Had that been in a tax deferred account, now this is very similar to our 401k, right? You'll say, I got a 401k, I defer my taxes. Well, we have a problem on the back end too, where we're going to see we have a much bigger tax bill on our 401ks here that we want to, again, alleviate and have a little bit more control over in our retirement years. So as I mentioned, we want to do what's considered tax diversification. As we are learning here, right, we have three options: tax now, tax later, tax never. And we have to kind of spread our eggs throughout that basket. Oh, dang, wanted to talk tonight. Our baskets, right? Where we're able to, again, don't want to put all my eggs in the taxable basket. Maybe I'll think of a different word here for myself. Or I'm putting them in all my tax or deferred account. We want to spread that again through each of those different accounts, so that we alleviate our tax bill now and later too, right? We got to think of planning now and then also planning in the future. And that's where we're utilizing our tax deferred and our tax-free accounts. Unfortunately, with the IRS, though, we sometimes get priced out of some of those tax-free options, particularly sometimes the Roth IRA here. But again, I won't spend too much time on this chart because we saw something very similar to this, right? Tax now, tax later, tax free. What type of accounts are you in, right? Do an inventory check on yourself. Are you heavy in a taxable category, right? Are you paying all your taxes now on that seed? Are you heavy and necessarily pushing off or kicking that can down the road on a tax deferred account? Remember, with that 401k, you're deferring ordinary income taxes, right? So if it's not like capital gains on a brokerage account where you get nice favorable tax rate, somewhat favorable, but you're paying ordinary taxes, and that could be very varying depending on how much income you withdraw from your accounts there. Again, it's ordinary income that you're deferring. So if you're putting yourself in a high income bracket, you might pay 24 all the way up to 36, 37%, I believe, is the highest tax bracket in the United States at this moment. So you could be deferring yourself 30%, almost 40% of your income to have to pay that later. That's something we want to alleviate definitely later, and that's how we utilize that IUL there for us to, again, alleviate that tax bill. Again, my slides lined up very well with Dylan. We talked, so I won't spend too much time. As he was mentioning, right, that growth rate, the years to double. I'm going to show you this one here, right around this area, taking that 15 years to double our money. I got a nice little case study for us, and we're going to see how that Rule 72 works. So won't spend too much time on this. But this is the one I do want to spend some heavy time on this one here, because this really demonstrates two different things here. One is the behavior of relying on someone to manage your money within the 401ks, mutual funds, IRAs, ETFs, stocks, bonds, whatever it might be. You're relying on their behavior and their performance of that stock, selling those mutual funds, being able to, again, grow that money that you hope. What happens, though, is they're not able to do that, unfortunately. On average, the average fund is about a 6.5% return, maybe 7% if you're lucky. So what this two charts here is demonstrating on an S&P index fund, where we're again just mirroring what the index S&P did for us. If we had invested $100,000 for over, I think, how many years is it? Does it tell me again here on the years? I don't want to spend too much time on it. It didn't tell me. Oh, 30 years. Okay, great. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Here, over that same 30-year period, this is almost $1.5 million difference in income accumulation, so to speak, here for us, right? Had we used that mutual funds, worked with an investment advisor, more or less they're getting anywhere from 6, and I'll be nice, right? 7, maybe 8% you'll see on some of our accounts too. But are they getting that index return of 10 or plus %, which we would do inside an index IUL there? And again, you can see the magic of that safety, right? That floor, not losing your principal here for us. So again, having both, not eliminating what I consider investor behavior, poor performance, and now just relying on mirroring the index, so to speak, and holding on to our principal does a lot much better for our money, holds on to, again, our accumulation. So just to kind of wrap it up just a little bit before we get into some hypotheticals here, why we're utilizing this solution here. Most importantly is going to be the taxes here. Again, we are now creating a tax-free income, and I'm going to get into that here in a moment, but we're also deferring taxes on the growth. So I'm not paying taxes now, and I'm not going to pay taxes later. This is a tax-free and vehicle for us. And then again, as we just discussed, I'm able to grow my money at a rate that is going to outpace inflation for us. And now I've eliminated also risk from a market perspective, and then also relying on an advisor by getting that floor protection, utilizing that index strategy there. And now I'm holding on to my principal and utilizing rule number 1, not losing any of my money there. So and again, I don't discredit the Roth IRA. It's a great alternative. The problem is we get either maxed out by the amount of contributions we can put into our Roth IRA, or we make too much money. Now, I believe they may have increased this since the last time I used this slide, so I think they may have bumped up the income just a little bit here and the contribution side. But the problem is when we start maxing out our 401ks, where do we go? What's our alternative? And then when as we just kind of learned, do I max out my 401k and really put myself in a high taxable retirement account is what I like to call, right? Because we're just deferring income and we're deferring that tax income till a later date. And the IRS is just sitting there rubbing their hands together as that account grows for them, and they're not doing any of the hard work there. So where does this IUL strategy really come in? How does it really benefit a client there? First and foremost, again, tax-free accumulation, tax-free distributions. Where's my pen? Here it is. And then, as I was mentioning, that death benefit protection. One of the benefits we don't get with the Roth IRA. Now, it's something we didn't touch on too, is being able to access that money, right? One of the things that, a lot of us don't like to be is locked out of our money necessarily, or not being able to access it without incurring a penalty. My 401k, that money I put in there, my IRA, that money is locked up. Now, and then on the back end with the 401k, because the IRS has allowed you to defer that income, they come requiring you to take distributions at a certain age. I believe it's 70. They keep changing it too on us, right? That's the other thing we're not going to discuss today. But the tax code in general, right, is we know in a very, I'll say, fluctuating environment, right? It changes from year to year, presidency to presidency, Congress to Congress with us. But one thing that kind of really hasn't changed is the 401k plan, those required distributions that you are forced to take at a certain age. Maybe we're still working. Maybe I don't need that money at that time, but the IRS is going to force you to take it because they want their taxes that you deferred. Now, we talked about contribution limits. There's no contribution limits with our cash value life insurance, right? We're able to, again, customize that, make that specific to our needs there. The IRA isn't necessarily a one shirt fits all, so to speak, right? And that there in itself might not be that best plan for me. I'm limited on the amount of contributions I can put in there. And again, I'm either forced with my 401k, 403, right, to take those distributions on those sides. Those are limitations that the IRS puts on us, right? And then on the earning side, I'm maxed out if I earn too much money from my Roth IRA. I can't access money in my Roth IRA. I can access money inside my cash value accumulation there. And again, they both have investment fees and life insurance fees for that death benefit protection. So what are some of the uses, right? As I was mentioning, why we access that money, why we're able to get to it. First and foremost, we're trying to supplement our retirement income. But as I mentioned, when we lock up money in our 401k, our IRAs, that money is kind of tied up. And if I need it, I'm going to be penalized. So I'm not going to be able to access it all either. But what if I do need that money a little bit earlier than age 59? What if I need it at age 50? What if I need it at age 45? I'm going to be able to do that with a cash value accumulation option. I'm going to be able to access it for college funding. Maybe there is an emergency that I need to be able to access that money to as well. Maybe, again, I want to retire just a little bit earlier and supplement some gap before I reach my 401k and start distributing there. Other uses, again, why we're able to utilize this IUL and build that strategy there. Excuse me. So as I mentioned, just want to touch on a few hypothetical studies, put all of this into a nice complete picture for us. The first one I'm going to touch on is a nice young couple here. I think he's aged 35. They have 2 young children. And again, this is kind of put yourself in different kind of shoes here. Could be, again, just accessing that money at a certain time. If I had put this in a different vehicle, I might be tied up or have that money, have no access to that money. With the cash value accumulation, we're going to be able to have access to that money. And as you can see here, we're going to be able to utilize it for college spending. But maybe that's something else, right? Might not be college planning. Maybe it's a wedding. Maybe it's a down payment on a home. You have the luxury to use that money as you see fit. So as we're just earlier, right? 10% of your income, about $6,000 a month, $500. $6,000 a year, $500 a month. For 16 years here, we have an initial face amount of $103,000. We have an increasing death benefit. Now we're going to take distributions at year 17. How much money was I able to get in the next 5 years after funding that for 15 or 16, excuse me. Whoop, wrong way, Dan. So after that 16 years, I have, again, put into my policy here $96,000 into that policy. As I mentioned, Mike, at about 17, his daughter is ready to go to college, and he's now staking out income from that policy, roughly $23,000. He's able to do that for 6 years in a row for a total of $143,000. Is that enough money to help put 2 children through college or supplement that college tuition? I believe so. Probably have a little bit left over if they don't go to one of the Ivy League schools, right? But now again, but you had access. Had we put that money into a 401k, put that into an IRA, had we maybe put that just into a regular savings account, And then the other thing too, 529 plans are nice. I'm not going to discredit them. The problem is same kind of limitations, right? That money has to go towards tuition. Sometimes it's even tied to that child directly. And then you have transfer amount if limitations if you don't use that for money for college. With this IUL, right, I have the luxury to use that money if I see how I see fit, if my child doesn't end up going to college. 529 plans were kind of tied there. Also, market susceptible, right? That's usually tied to market. Mutual funds there, gonna have that risk. And do we want to risk the future of our college savings necessarily? So questions and we want to consider when we're saving for our children here. Next example here, we're going to bump up premium a little bit. As I was mentioning, right, we have someone that maybe is outside of the Roth IRA limits. They're maxing out their 401ks already through work. So they're already thinking, hey, I probably got a big tax bill later in life. I'm still not meeting necessarily my retirement goals that I want to achieve. And this is where, again, we're going to see that power of the index and utilizing that rule of 72 here. So what Mr. Jackson has done here, again, he's now paid 10 years of $20,000 worth of premium into a FFIUL policy, or is it the financial choice? This works for FFIUL and choice. Either one's going to work out for us here. But initial face amount's $269,000. Now, at age 66, so 15 years from now, he only paid into it 10 years. He waits 5 more years for that policy and now starts withdrawing $22,000 a year from age 66 to age 85. And he's able to give himself an additional $500,000 in income. Did that rule of 72 come into play? We put in $200,000. 15 years later, I've now doubled my income, right? Rate of return was at 6% there. So did I double my money? Yes, I did. Rule of 72 came right into effect here. This is, again, something that we can certainly look at. I know it's at 20,000 premium. This works at 15,000. This works at 10,000. What the magic of these IULs is being able to very customize and be very specific to your client's needs. As you saw, same scenario with that 35-year-old who was able to only put $500 a month, but still got $143,000 worth of income in 15 years there, 16 years. I don't know why I keep saying 15, but 16. So again, breaking that down just a little bit here, as you see the numbers, $200,000 in premium here. We've doubled my money from age 66 to age 94 us here. So again, we're able to accumulate that, produce that tax-free income. And what I mean by tax-free is, had this been in a taxable account, we'd had to at least earn 8% on my money to get that same type of return. Because remember, the interest that you're accumulating, a portion of that goes back to the IRS if we're in a taxable account. Had that been tax deferred, I'm sharing a portion of these incomes here. So last hypothetical study here. I know I'm on the top of it, so I'll spend a few more minutes here on this last one. This one really want to expand everybody's mind here. Really think outside the box here. A lot of clients don't have avenues, especially independent contractors, business owners, right? We know that they don't really have maybe access to 401ks, 403bs, and necessarily limited sometimes with retirement options or looking for tax-free income, excuse me. And then also being able to access that money. As business owners, we know cash flow is very important to us, right? Being able to have access to cash and then just having cash flow in general. So again, taking back to, I need to go back 1-2 slide here. We have Alex, age 40. He's going to really fund this IUL for the first 7 years and then maximize those distributions here, as you saw, pulling out different amount of money at different times here. So from age 41 to age 47, we've contributed $700,000 into this policy. Age 48, I take out $200,000. Age 56, I take out another $50,000 for the next 4 years. Then I take a little bit of a breather, and age 66, I start taking out plenty of $92,000 all the way till age 85. Something happened though at age 85. I ran out of money here. I wasn't able to draw out my $92,000 in my last year. There is a shortfall in what we consider a self-funding strategy. This is where I'm paying taxes on my gains there every year. Remember, we get that 1099. So in this scenario, I earned $6,000, but I owe 20% to the IRS. So I only got to keep $4,800. And that keeps going. And that's what's considered tax drag, I consider it, or that silent partner there. As that money is growing, they're taking a portion of your income that you've earned here. And that accumulates over time and gives a drain on your account, reducing your income. Had we put that same amount of premium into an indexed IUL strategy, as you can see here, same thing, $200,000 at year 8. 8 years later, age 56, I pull out another $200,000 over the next 4 years. I let the policy percolate a little bit longer, and now I'm able to withdraw that $92,000 all the way to age 85 there, and I'm still left with the death benefit after age 85. And that is a $32,000 difference in paying your taxes versus not paying taxes at all on your distributions. Big difference here, not to mention the death benefit as well that would be available to you. I can't stress the importance of either taxing that seed and not the harvest, right? And then protecting yourself along the way if something were to happen. And what I mean by that is protecting you, worst case scenario, right? We won't want to talk about it, but also against market risk. You know, I'll end on this. I had a conversation. You ever call somebody and you think it's going to be a 5-minute conversation and it turns out to be a half-hour conversation. And the guy, he lives down, just to kind of end, I live in the state of Florida. Obviously, you know, it's the retirement state. Arizona is kind of one of the other ones there. And he works within the retirement community. And he says one of the really problems he's coming across is the retirement folks are running out of money. And the reason being is because of COVID, and it took a hinder on their retirement plans. And like I said, he was talking to me for 20 minutes, telling me his life story. And the one thing that clicked to me was when he told me all these people that I work with in my community, he was about 70 years old, are now running out of money or can't withdraw the same amount of money that they hoped to from their accounts because they lost money in the last 3 years, or that 2022, where that COVID hit 2021, and we took a little bit of a market downturn or correction, so to speak, and that hinders your ability to access that money. So again, holding on to that principle, having that safety built into that index strategy is a very important thing, or being able to have other avenues to be able to withdraw income from, just in case we do have a market downturn or market correction, so to speak. So with that, again, I always want to thank you, Mr. Dhillon, for allowing me to be on these calls. I really appreciate it. I love sharing this information. I know sometimes I talk a little too fast, so any questions, I'll hold on here for a minute, but hopefully this information came across very clear for everybody. I know you did it well, and I presented with some extra information there. So again, I really want to thank everybody and you especially for allowing me to be on here and introduce Transamerica and how we can help folks there.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. And if anybody has any questions, we can go over. And yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation and the information provided by you. I have just a quick question. If you want to summarize a comparison between 401k, which is very popular, the most popular investment for the retirement, and IUL in less than 5 minutes or 2 or 3 minutes, I'm pretty sure it is very good to know about this one, because everybody knows about the 401k. When we compare that to, IUL, it is very good to understand IUL much better. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, to sum it up, the 401k, and I'll use what we were discussing before, taxing the seed versus taxing that harvest. And when you tax the seed and bite the bullet now and pay taxes on the effective tax rate that you are at now, you were not kicking the can down the road, so to speak. So on average, I'll just use the number, this year's contribution for a 401k is about 23 to 30,000, depending on your age and if you're in that catch-up range. So, and again, if you're in that range of income, right, normal less, you're about $150,000 to $200,000, you're probably in what's considered a 25 to 30% tax bracket. So when you deposit that $20,000, you're necessarily saving yourself maybe anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 in taxes that year, right? That's nothing to necessarily wink at, right? Great, I want to save that money. The problem is we're deferring that same tax rate. So a lot of us think that we're going to be in what's considered a lower income bracket in our retirement years. And I don't believe so. I don't think anybody wants to necessarily, we talk about growing wealth. It doesn't mean that my income is going to be less in when I get older, right? I want to have that same amount of income, that same style of lifestyle that I've come accustomed to. So I'm going to withdraw that same amount of income and be within what I consider that same effective tax rate. So now if I'm withdrawing $150,000 to $200,000 from my policies, and I'm taxed at a rate of 25 to 30%, how much am I sharing now with the IRS compared to what I shared with the before on the tax now, right, that I saved, right? I've now paid anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000 in taxes on my $100,000 to $200,000 withdrawal, and just eliminated and not crossed out any taxes that I saved myself 30 years ago. So that is the biggest thing, that with the 401k, all you're really doing is kicking the can down the road for taxes that you will pay later. Now, again, it's an effective tax strategy for now, but for later, we want to make sure we're not putting all our eggs in one basket that is going to be taxable for us. As I mentioned, we want to spread and go across, which tax diversification, same thing is what we consider asset diversification, excuse me. We want to do a tax diversification as well and alleviate or litigate our tax risk, is what I like to say, so that we're not giving ourselves a big tax bill later in retirement.
Yeah, I think that summarizes so the answer. So thank you so much, Dan, for today's valuable time, brother. I really appreciate it. But now it's our time, guys. That you listened, you learned, you made notes, you paid attention. But this is the time to execute. If you're listening to me and if you're here, Knowledge is power only if you use it. Not you make notes of it, if you use it. So sit down with your trainer. Sit down with the person who invited you, and let's execute this knowledge so that we have a tax-free retirement income, so that we have money working for you like you are working for the money. Let's see who after this call implements. Only applied knowledge makes the difference. With that, thank you so much, everybody. See you all with it. Thank you.
Thank you.